Hello, welcome to the Town of Rehoboth's video entitled Property Taxes 102, Understanding Your Tax Bill. My name is Michael Deignan. I am Chairman of the Town of Rehoboth's Finance Committee. I will be narrating this presentation for you today. What is the purpose of today's presentation? First, I will explain the annual tax bill process to you. Then we will review tax bill calculations and the payments that you make. Finally, I will show you a sample tax bill that is mailed to residents and what the different components of that tax bill are. This video is one in a series of several videos on property taxes we have prepared for you. The first is entitled Property Taxes 101. What are property taxes? If you have not already viewed Property Taxes 101, I highly encourage you to go and view it on the Town of Rehoboth's Community Access website on demand or their YouTube channel. This video provides a lot of key concepts and definitions that you need to know for all of the subsequent videos in this series. The video that we're watching now, Property Taxes 102, again, helps you understand what your tax bill is and how to view your tax bill. In Property Taxes 103, we talk about split tax rates, a key concept people often hear about and talk about in town. We want you to understand what split tax rates are and what their impact is to you, the homeowner. We also have a video on revaluations in Property Taxes 104. Property Taxes 104 talks about the revaluation process and what the impact can be on your tax bill. In Property Taxes 105, we discuss the different types of Proposition 2.5 overrides you as a resident can be asked to vote on, and again, what their impact would be to your tax bill. And finally, in the video Property Taxes 106, we talk about different types of tax relief that's available to homeowners, such as abatements and exemptions, and how to apply for them, and what they are, etc. So all of these videos are available both on demand on the Town of Rehoboth's Rehoboth TV website, in addition to the YouTube channel for the community television. Let's get started now with understanding your tax bill. Your annual property tax is billed based upon the town's fiscal year. That fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th. And you pay your property tax quarterly in August, November, February, and May. Invoices for your property tax are mailed to you twice a year, semi-annually, in July and in January. Each bill you receive covers 2 quarters. So the July bill that you receive is for the August and November payments, and then the January bill you receive is for the February and May payments. The July invoice is called a preliminary tax bill, while the January invoice is your actual tax bill. Why is this? What's the difference between those two? The town doesn't set a tax rate and doesn't establish the final assessed value for your property until the fall, usually in the October and November timeframe. Since the tax rate for the fiscal year is not known when the July invoices are mailed to you, the actual amount of your property tax for the fiscal year cannot be accurately counted or calculated. Thus, the July invoice uses the tax rate from the prior fiscal year, along with your assessed value from the prior fiscal year, to generate a preliminary tax bill for the current fiscal year. In July of 2020, when the preliminary tax bills went out for fiscal year 21, those calculations were performed using your assessed value from fiscal year 2020 and the tax rate from fiscal year 2020. The actual tax invoice that you receive in January is computed based upon the tax rate that's approved by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue in the fall, and your assessed value for the current fiscal year, which is again approved in the fall as well. That assessed value could be different from your assessed value last fiscal year for many different reasons. The actual tax bill or actual invoice that you receive in January also includes any variance, whether it's positive or negative, between what the preliminary calculation is and what your actual tax bill is. Let's look at an example of a preliminary and an actual tax bill calculation. For purposes of this example, we are going to use values from calculations in fiscal 21. For the preliminary tax bill for fiscal 21, we utilize, as indicated in the prior slides, we utilize the tax rate and the assessed values from fiscal 20, because in July they have not yet been determined for this fiscal year yet. In fiscal year 20, the tax rate was $13.12 per thousand of assessed value. For this example, we're also going to use the average single-family homes value in Rehoboth, what the Massachusetts Division of Local Services calculates the average single-family house being assessed at in Rehoboth. In fiscal year 20, that value was $414,017. The preliminary tax for fiscal year 21 is calculated at $5,431.90. That's calculated by taking the $414,017, which is the assessed value, dividing it by 1,000, and then multiplying that by $13.12. The tax bill that you would receive in July for fiscal year 21's preliminary tax would be $2,715.95, or half of that total preliminary tax calculation, the $5,431.90 divided by 2. You would have 2 quarterly payments in August and November for $13.57, 97 cents and 98 cents respectively. That's calculated by taking that preliminary tax bill of the $27.15.95 and dividing it by 2. And obviously, because 95 cents divided by 2 isn't an even number, on one payment it's rounded up to make up the difference that you don't pay in the other quarter, because you can't pay 97.5 cents. August's and November's quarterly payments would be virtually about the same. You will see this reflected on the actual the preliminary invoice that's sent to you, which again we'll review in a couple of slides. On that tax bill, in the upper right-hand corner, there's something called the taxpayer's receipt. And on the taxpayer's receipt, it will show you a breakdown of the tax and the quarter payments. Here's an example based upon that calculation that we just went through. You see the preliminary real estate tax and preliminary CPA. Those two values combined come up to the $5,431.90. Now you may be asking, well, why isn't the preliminary real estate tax the $1,431.90? For those of you that have been living in town for a while, you may recall that about a decade ago we passed the Community Preservation Act, which adds a 1% surcharge to your tax bill. Your total preliminary real estate tax that you pay is a combination of your actual real estate tax and that 1% surcharge, which is factored into the calculation. It's actually factored into the tax rate. Below the total preliminary real estate tax value, you will see any current payments or credits that you may have. If you overpaid by, say, $100 on your previous tax bill, you would actually see the credit reflected there. And then in the next section below, you see the first quarter due and the second quarter due dates of 8/1 and 11/1/2020, and then the dollar amounts of the $1,357.97. Also shown on this section would be any past due payments. For example, if you underpaid last year's tax bill by $100 or $1,000, that would reflect here as being past due. And in addition to that, you would also have interest due, any interest that happens to be due. Those two values, the past due and the interest, are added into your first quarter's payment. If, for example, you had, say, $100 past due and, say, $5 in interest, you would actually see the first quarter payment be $105 more than that $1,357.97, which is calculated. For your actual tax bill that comes out in January, it would use the current fiscal year's tax rate approved in the fall by the Department of Revenue and what your new assessed value is. In fiscal year 21, the tax rate is $13.24 per thousand of assessed value. The average single-family home in Rehoboth increased in value to $423,042. Again, that's going to be the value we're going to use for this calculation. Let's say your house is that average single-family house. Your assessed value went up year over year for many different reasons that can occur. Your actual fiscal year 21 tax is computed with your new assessed value divided by 1,000 multiplied by the tax rate for fiscal year 21. In this case, it's the $423,042 divided by 1,000 multiplied by $13.24 per thousand. That calculation comes out to $5,601.08. That's your actual fiscal year 21 tax. Your tax bill for January, your quote-unquote actual tax bill, is $2,885.13. How do we compute that? We take the actual fiscal year 21 tax, the 560108, and we subtract out the amount of the preliminary tax, 1/2 of that preliminary tax that you received a bill for in July. if you recall from the previous slide, that value was $27,1595. The actual tax bill in January would reflect a bill of $28,8513, calculated at that $56,0108, subtracting the $27,1595. Your February and May quarterly payments are respectively half of that new amount divided by 2 and then rounded up in one instance to make up for the half-cent difference. Your May quarterly payment is $1,442.56, and then your February payment would be the $1,442.56, and then your May quarterly payment would be for $1,442.57, or the $28,8513 divided by 2. What does this actually look like when you receive your tax bill? You would see in the upper right-hand corner of the tax bill, again under that taxpayer receipt section, you would see your total real estate tax as being the first line, and then what your Community Preservation Act surcharge is. Also on this bill, you have any abatements or exemptions that are applied. So if you qualify for an abatement or an exemption, which we cover in a different video, it would likewise be reflected on the January tax bill that you receive. Those values are added and subtracted together to come up with a subtotal. In this example, reflecting what we just went through the calculation on, we didn't have any abatements or exemptions for our example, so it's the $56,0108. Below that is shown what your total preliminary real estate tax and Community Preservation Act surcharge was, and what your current payments and credits were. The $54,3190 was the original preliminary real estate tax computed in July, and assuming that you made your tax payments on time, you would have paid half of that, or $27,1595. The third section of this receipt will show you any your third quarter payment due date, your fourth quarter payment due date, and any past due amount or any interest that has accrued because of a past due payment. If you had only paid, say, $2,600 as opposed to $2,700, you would see $100 past due on this, reflected on this portion of your tax bill. And you would also see some interest in there as well. Below those values, the final last two lines shows you what your assessed value for the fiscal year is and what the tax rate per thousand for the current fiscal year is. In this example here, it was the $13.24 per thousand, and the assessed value of $423.42. $423,042. A lot of numbers and a lot of decimal places. Get to be a tongue twister sometimes. You would see a similar value shown on the latest copy of the tax bill that you should have received towards the end of December or the beginning of January this month. What did that actually look like? I'm going to show you, and this is an actual tax bill that was mailed out. It's actually my tax bill. And there's actually, on tax bills, there's nothing private really or personal about them. All of this information is a matter of public record. So I'm not divulging any super secrets here by actually showing you an example of a real tax bill. But in this case, when you receive a tax bill, it's an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it contains 3 sections. The bottom two sections we'll talk about first. The bottom two sections are perforated and detachable. They are the, for lack of a better term, the coupons that you're supposed to detach from your tax bill and mail back into the collector's office with your payment. And over on the left-hand side, you will see the payment date. In this case, this is for the February payment, and this coupon here is for the May payment. It actually reflects the fact that this is the fiscal year 21 actual real estate tax bill on both of those coupons, and it will show you the amount due and the amount due dates as well. And of course, the mailing address is shown on both of them as well. The top portion, the portion that you keep, we're going to talk about in greater detail on the next slide. The top portion that you keep is broken down into 3 columns, effectively. The first column contains information about your property. Contains the property address, the classification of the land, what you have in terms of acreage, the parcel ID, and then the book and page number and the deed date on file with the Registry of Deeds in Taunton. And then below that is who the owners of the property were as of January 1st, 2020. The middle section of the top portion of the bill contains information as to what fiscal year the tax bill is for, the fact that this is the actual tax bill, not the preliminary. If you receive a preliminary tax bill, rather than the word actual, you'll see the word preliminary. And then the section below that here contains information on how to contact the collector of taxes in Rehoboth. Currently, that is Cheryl Gouveia, what the office hours at Town Hall are, the contact telephone number, and then any messages that the collector wants to send to you. Finally, on the right-hand side is that taxpayer receipt that we had talked about previously in the previous slides. And as you can see here, there's the calculations for the total real estate tax, the Community Preservation Act, the subtotal, what the preliminary tax were, and then what the past due and interest amounts, the third and fourth quarter tax due dates, and the fact that what the tax rate per thousand is and what the assessed value of the property is. That's what your actual tax bill will look like. That concludes Property Taxes 102, Understanding Your Tax Bill. Hopefully, this presentation has given you the information you need to understand how your individual tax bill is computed and understanding the process of how tax bills are mailed to you and the information that is contained on them. If you have any questions, please contact either the collector's office, or feel free to email me, Mike Deignan, at one of my email addresses for the town. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.